Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the South Seminole Lounge. My name is Mr. Miles. I'm joined here with Jenna and also our Seminole Connect students at home. Hello, everybody at home. Because today we are interviewing Mr. Miro for our Teacher Spotlight. Why are we interviewing Mr. Miro today? Because we can't interview him next week. Mr. Miro has made a big announcement. We'll treat it like a press conference. How about at the beginning? Mr. Miro is going to go with a couple of opening statements and a couple of questions after that. Hello, Mr. Miro. Good morning. How are you today?
Good, and you?
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so before we begin our questions, we have one question from each student here in the lounge and also at home. Do you have anything you'd like to say to those students, past or present, that have heard some shocking news this week?
I just like to say thank you to everybody, all the teachers and students and parents and family members that I've interacted with over these past 8 years. I've had a great time here at South Seminole. I was teaching former students and their siblings now. But yeah, so I was truly blessed to work here, and I'm super grateful and thankful for everything over these past 8 years.
Some of the students, or one of them at least in the other room, was saying how when I told them that you were coming up here because you'll be leaving, they had contacted their their older brother or sister to say, Mr. Miro's leaving, and they would like text back immediately like, oh no, he's my favorite teacher. Many students here will tell you that Mr. Miro is their favorite teacher, not just current students, but past students as well. And it is very sad to see you go, but it sounds like you have a new opportunity. Is there anything you want to tell us about that's coming up next for you?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. We're just not going to talk about that. That's fine. Now, Mr. Miro is moving on from here, and he's got future plans that perhaps will come out in a question or two that people are going to ask. But for now, we are going to start out with, actually, we'll do our first question with Jenna. Jenna has a question for us here. We're going to ask Mr. Miro one question per student. Go ahead, Jenna. What's your question?
My question is, why are the New York Yankees your favorite baseball team?
Oh, going right into sports. Okay.
So I'm originally from Puerto Rico. So when we moved here and like we were able to see Yankees games broadcasted, the center fielder for the Yankees, whose name is Bernie Williams at the time, he was Puerto Rican. So it was like a real great sense of national pride to see one of our guys on like what was considered America's team. So it was a really good transition. Like, so at the time I didn't speak English, but it was like, it was really inspiring to see that our guy was playing for like America's team. So it was just like a really big like pride thing for myself and my family.
Oh, very good. See, there's so many things about Mr. Miro I didn't know about. That's very interesting. We'll go to one of our Seminole Connect questions now. Grace is out there. Grace, do you have a question for Mr. Miro this morning?
What are you most looking forward to in your new job?
Oh, okay.
Just a different opportunity. So I've been in public school for, I guess, since kindergarten.
True.
So large part, like over 2 decades, if you count when I was a student. So I'm just looking forward to a new opportunity, a new challenge.
Very good. Thank you, Grace. Thank you for your question. Next up, I have a question from Chloe Fisher from Seminole Connect. Chloe, are you there?
How will your teaching experience at South Seminole Academy help you flourish with your new career?
I like that word, flourish.
Flourish.
I'll still be interacting with students and like kids. Like I love kids. I love interacting with like youth. So I never really saw myself as a teacher. I saw myself more as like an educational entertainer. So I'll just keep that same mentality as I interact with different students, different kids. I have a passion to engage kids, maybe students who are not necessarily interested in history, who might see it as boring. So I'll still have that task. So I'm looking forward to just continuing that, just in a different medium.
That is always the challenge, to get kids interested in history that perhaps are not as interested in it. Do you have a particular period in history that you like teaching the most?
The early Republic, like the Revolutionary era. Mm-hmm. But Lin-Manuel Miranda has kind of hijacked it with Hamilton, so kids expect...
They expect you to sing and dance now.
All of their history teachers to sing and dance hip-hop versions of the Revolutionary era.
And you haven't gone that route with your class? Not at this time?
I cannot do it as well as he does.
Very good.
Though we are both Puerto Rican, so we have that going for us.
Our next question comes from Ava. Ava, do you have a question for Mr. Miro?
So, why is it important for you to take the new job?
Oh, okay.
Like,
Getting very
what was
personal. Okay,
the
getting very
reason for
personal.
taking the new?
What was the reason?
Yeah.
Um, it's just better for my family and my kids. So for like the first maybe like 5 years that I was here, like my students were my kids because I didn't have any kids up until then. But now I have three. So it's just they're the main component as to why I'm taking on the new job.
And sometimes opportunity is just, a reason. Like something's come up and you're like, this is a great opportunity. I have to take that opportunity. It's good for the family. Very, very good. Our next question from Seminole Connect comes from Emilia. Emilia, do you have a question for Mr. Miro?
Yes. What has been one of your most favorite experiences as an educator here at South Seminole Academy?
Should I answer in an English accent or just regular accent, Amelia?
English
I
accent
was
would
going to say
be
she'd be
good.
disappointed if he didn't do the English accent. Yes.
So a little bit of context. In my fourth period, we talk a lot in English accents, though I don't think everybody appreciates them as much as Amelia does. My favorite experience.
It's hard to pinpoint, isn't it? Because there's probably at least one from every year.
Yeah. I couldn't pinpoint one. One thing that I love seeing always is seeing the kids how they are in August at the beginning of the school year. And then it's obviously physically they change, emotionally, socially they change, but it's like just seeing that growth with my students who are eighth graders. And then I always try to like mingle in the courtyard. So some of the kids I meet in sixth grade. So it's always rewarding to see them grow up, like moving on.
That's a very good example of a favorite thing. And fortunately, I get to experience that a lot because we record everything here. And since Amelia was the one who asked that question, I can say we recently just had our magnet night here where we're telling future sixth graders that are fifth grade right now to come to our school. We're pulling up old clips. And there's Amelia from, 2.5 years ago. And it's like, just look at how much she's changed since then. You think she was confident on camera back then. You should see how she is now. But I get to see the growth that maybe most teachers don't get to see, maybe because their memories fail them. But then you look back at the video and see how young they were and see how much they've changed. There is something very satisfying about seeing that for sure.
And I think also, like, to answer the question is one of, like, the quotes that I teach by is by Theodore Roosevelt that says, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So I always tell kids, like, you won't remember, like, the lessons, the dates that we do, but, like, what you will remember is, like, how I made you feel, how, our class was very familial, like, you guys were more like brothers and sisters to each other and cousins, and you were just typical students in a class. So just having kids come back or like at the end of the year saying like, oh, like, thanks for like the time that we had here. Because I know you'll forget everything that I teach you or like your other teachers will teach you, but like you'll never forget how you felt for those 90 minutes or 45 minutes.
And I'm sure you do get repeat customers. You get the students that come back over the years to say hi to you because, again, maybe they don't remember the lessons, but they remember Mr. Miro and how those lessons were taught. But thinking back, he never did sing to us like that Lin-Manuel guy. But, he's still our favorite teacher.
I did sing See Caroline, though.
Oh, yes, you did.
There
And you
is
can
that
find
clip.
that on our YouTube page. It's buried in an episode of the news somewhere. So I don't know exactly where that is. But, yes, he had lost a bet and had to sing Sweet Caroline. That's another baseball question. But speaking of that, Jenna, do you have another question for us? Is this baseball related as well?
Yes, this
Okay.
question is from Riley. What was your first experience with baseball?
Let's see. The apartment complex my dad used to live in, he bought us this like black plastic bat, and so it'd be like me and my sister versus my dad and my stepmom, and we would play it in like, it probably was super hazardous to play in the area. It was kind of like just an empty ditch that well, like it wasn't wet, so it was like dry land. So I remember that fondly, like just playing baseball in that little patch.
That's very nice. Next up, we have Haley. Haley, do you have a question for Mr. Miro?
What inspired you to join your new job?
Sounds like he had mentioned that about his family, but maybe there was a little bit more to that. What inspired you? What inspired you?
Like I've always told like my friends and my wife that like whenever I like do something, like I always want to leave on a high. So like I never want to stay because I know I had teachers that originally were like really vibrant and really energetic, and then I ended up remembering them by like, I guess for lack of a better term, how lame they became. Or I would, ask my sister like, "Hey, did Mr. or Mrs. like do this in your class?" And she was like, "No, like they would do this." So it was like to see them be like, "Oh, like it's just kind of like it fizzled out." So I always want to leave my students like on a high with like good memories, as opposed to like, circumstances would change while I'm in the classroom, and then it's just kind of like, you know, remember when Mr. Miro did this instead of like Mr. Miro was this.
Very
So like
good.
I know you have, so like Reese, I had Reese for 2 years, and like I never had Riley, but it's like Riley can have like Reese's memories to some extent, or even like
I see what you're
Genia's
saying,
memories
yeah.
type of thing, as opposed to like fizzling out. So leaving on a high note inspires me to like then pursue another job, like go into it on a high note, and then just keep going up, as opposed to just like
I
burning
see.
out or like fizzling out.
Mr. Miro he's the Derek Jeter of South Seminole. He just wants to go out on a high note after a hugely successful career in one place. He's ready to step down when he's at his highest point. That's very, very good. I can see that makes a lot of sense to me now that you've said that. Yes. That was Haley's question. Our next question comes from Nadia. Nadia, do you have a question for us?
What has been your most difficult year at SSA and why?
Oh, okay. Difficult year. Ooh, challenging question.
So Reese's class, so the kids that are graduating now in 2021, I taught them in 7th grade, and I love that class so much that I selfishly followed them into 8th grade, because like I didn't want to see them go. So like to see them go after 2 years, it was like bittersweet, and like I still keep in contact with those kids. But that was a super difficult year because like 7th grade I could be like bye, and then like the summer would come and they came back for 8th grade. But seeing them off to high school, like I always joke that like it broke me.
Yeah, and
So,
those
yeah.
students are the ones that are seniors this year.
Yeah.
And will be graduating high school. He's referring to my daughter, Reese, who is at Lake Howell, and this is her senior year, and she will be graduating. So, yeah, there was that 2-year period. You're at middle school for 3 years, but 2 out of those 3 years, they got to have Miro. So that made their memories at South Seminole pretty darn good, I would have to say.
And like Ethan, who's on the news, his brother Garrett.
Yeah. We get a lot of brothers and sisters, or brothers, and they're carrying over. But Ethan, yeah, that's right, as well. Well, that was our last question. Jenna, you asked your 2 questions. Is there anything you want to say to the South Seminole audience as we sign off here to end the interview, that for those students who perhaps aren't going to get a chance to see you before tomorrow? Is there anything you want to say as your final speech here?
Just thank you for everything. All the great teachers that have taught here, who are still here, all the faculty, the staff, even down to Johnny and Mike, who clean up after you guys consistently. Everybody's great. Like everybody's always smiling, so I've always loved that. I'd leave you with this: students who I haven't taught, or maybe are Seminole Connect, who have not been in my classroom. Just the notion that comparison is the thief of joy. So as you go on through like your middle school years, don't compare your teachers. Don't say, I wish my teacher would do this because my other teacher does this. Appreciate your teachers for what they do, for their own individuality, for what they bring to the table. Each subject is different, so each subject is taught differently. Your teachers have different personalities, so appreciate them for that, right? It'd be grand to work at a place where everybody was Mr. A or Miss Stalker or Mr. Heiss or Mr. Jackson, right? But appreciate all of your teachers individually. for what they are, and make your school a place that you want to be, right? For those of you who would say like, oh, I don't like going to this school, right? Be part of the solution, not the problem. All schools are the same, right? They have the same ability to be great or be bad. But yeah, just make the most of what you are with what you have. And so, yeah, it's a great place to be. So
Very
you should
good words
appreciate
to
it.
live by. Comparison is the thief of joy. Our final words from Mr. Miro here. Well, thank you for being a part of the South Seminole Lounge today for our
Thank you.
Teacher Spotlight. You can find this up on our YouTube page. It'll be up there forever for you, and hopefully we'll leave the comment section open, and let's hope they're all good comments. I'm pretty sure they will be, though. We'll monitor those comments closely. But that's Mr. Miro, everyone, here. We hope to see you again next week on the Teacher Spotlight. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.